Real Madrid have a new left back, Gab. Marco Cucurella is on his way for around 60 million euros. Does that make sense to you?
I think it does. When you look at the at Real Madrid's left backs, Fran Garcia is obviously somewhat lightweight, and Ferland Mendy's usually injured. So you need an alternative, of course, to Carreras. From Chelsea's perspective, they were in a situation where he's going to enter the final couple years of his contract. I don't think the club were necessarily so happy with some of the things he said last year. I think Xabi Alonso would have been happy to keep him, but the club are very, very big on Jarell Hato and the project and all this nonsense.
You love him at left back, really?
I'm sorry?
You love Hato at left back as well, so you'd be happy.
But he hasn't. He hasn't sold me on it. Look, maybe they see something I don't. Look, what matters more is does Xabi Alonso like him? I'm not 100% in the Premier League, but it depends how you want to play. You can play a system for anyone, but no, I wasn't the biggest Cucurella guy, but he's been really good at Chelsea for a long time. And but you get to that age, 27, 28, where the club have a certain model that they employ, and they need to get money back. I remind everybody, they're under a settlement agreement with UEFA. Even if they haven't qualified for Europe, they will face sanction and they will pay more fines if they don't get some money back. And he's obviously an asset you can move. So is Chalobah for that matter. I wouldn't necessarily move either one, but reality bites here, Jules. What are you going to do? More Real Madrid. Our old friend Sami Khedira is reportedly being lined up as an assistant by Jose Mourinho. Jules, what's he going to bring? I mean, this would be his first gig.
Yeah, I mean, we know that he passed his badges. I saw him before the Champions League final before the semi-final of the Champions League in Munich. I saw him in Budapest as well. We had a little chat. He said that he felt right time to go into management, either as a first-team coach, but he said more likely as an assistant like this. And this makes sense. He knows Mourinho really well because they worked together when he was a player at Real Madrid. He knows the club so well, obviously, was very successful there, speaks the language as well. I think to be around that dressing room, to have a player like him, a figure like him in that dressing room would be very useful too. So I think something like that was probably lacking a little bit for Arbeloa or for Xabi Alonso before. So for me, it makes loads of sense. And maybe, Gabi, that means we can go and see him in Madrid and he can feed us in a little bit about what he does within the club, and within the dressing room.
Yeah, Sammy, go ahead. Text me, let me know what time suits you. But I'll tell you what, though. I think this makes a ton of sense because obviously there's a long history about kind of club guys coming in with a new manager. Here you have somebody. Mourinho has changed a little bit over the years. He doesn't necessarily want assistants who are yes men. He values people who come in with different perspectives. Obviously, Khedira has been around the block. He's worked for so many different managers. I think he can bring value to Mourinho. And also the fact that, yes, he's a club, he's a very important player for Real Madrid in the past, but also he's been outside the club for a while. And I think that's a really good match.
Ruben Amorim is reportedly top of Milan's list, Gab. If he does join, it would save Manchester United some money. Do you like this?
Well, it's saving money, yes, because of obviously the when he left and some of the money he got with his severance when he went away. I would like this more if I knew who was actually talking to him and appointing him. The reports are that Jerry Cardinale rang him up personally and they talked, and then later he spoke to the agents, the representatives. Like I said, Milan right now, they don't have a CEO, they don't have a technical director, they don't have a director of football. Jerry going out and doing this is strong sort of Todd Bowley transfer market vibes at Chelsea, frankly. And I don't think that's a good thing. Now, they are working, obviously the Ralph Rangnick ship seems to have sailed because Ralph Rangnick supposedly felt that Milan's project isn't clear. Well, Ralph, you're the one who has to bring clarity to the project. Jerry sure as hell isn't going to bring it. That's not his day job. Milan are working on two guys from Eintracht Frankfurt, Marcus Kroesche, who would come in, I guess, as some sort of overseer, technical director, and Timo Harding, Milan were quick to brief all the star players that, they unearthed and they signed for Eintracht Frankfurt, forgetting also some of the bad ones who didn't work out. I would feel better if these people were in place and then you selected the coach. To me, it's a logical order of operations. I feel even better if you actually had a CEO, somebody at the helm who could devote himself full time to this. That would be even better. I know Zlatan's there, but he's not really there because he's in LA working for Fox at the World Cup. I don't think you can do all these things remotely over the phone. But hey, who knows? As for Amorim on the pitch, like, he can't be the guy he was at Manchester United. Maybe he'll go back to being the guy he was at Sporting. I think we deal better with tactical rigidity at Milan than elsewhere. It would probably be good news for Rafael Leao and Christian Pulisic. On paper, you put those two guys behind a center forward, and suddenly the 3-4-2-1 might make a little bit of sense. But I think we're some time from this kind of being fully settled and getting a full picture at Milan.
And Uncle George, by the way, putting Amorim at Milan and Mourinho at Real Madrid is already a pretty good summer for him.
I know. Uncle George never goes away. He bounces back. Oh, and don't forget, the guy he's putting in at Wolves as well. Cesar Peixoto, is that
yeah,
it?
That's him. Yeah.
Bayern, meanwhile, are reportedly close to picking up Ismail Saibari, who is not an Uncle George client, from PSV Eindhoven in a deal worth 55 million. Jules, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what better timing to do that than after the great goal that he scored against Brazil. He had an outstanding season as a false number 9 for PSV, for somebody who usually plays more in midfield and make those runs into the box more as a second striker or box-to-box if you want. That false number 9 position with our friend Peter Bosz worked really, really well for him. I'm not really sure where then he fits into this Vincent Kompany system, unless it's a backup to Kane or can play with Kane in a kind of very fluid front two. I think that could work really well. I love him. I think he's an outstanding pick, outstanding player. It's a lot of money, especially after PSV bought him for hardly nothing 3 years ago or something. But hey, Bayern Munich clearly had scouted him before, and even before he shone against Brazil, wanted to sign him. So I think this could potentially be a really good match.
It feels like a depth signing. I mean, you're right. He doesn't score a lot of goals, whether he's playing attacking midfield or obviously when he played up front. He didn't score a lot of goals for a team that does score a lot of goals. But yes, as long as Harry Kane is fit, he can certainly come in. And of course, when you've got Olise and Luis Diaz and Jamal Musiala feeding you, you will get your goals. But I think you probably get more playing time there than he will in the number 10 position.
Roberto Mancini has rescinded his contract with Al Sadd, Gab. Is that making him a step closer to the Italian national team?
So a lot of people saying, oh, this can only mean one thing. No, guys, the elections are in June 22nd, a week's time, and then we'll see. Antonio Conte is still very much in the mix. I think he was going to rescind his contract with Al Sadd anyway. It is a way of maybe accelerating things a little bit. Maybe if afterwards there's a negotiation or there's a potential, the fact that he can go around and say, hey guys, look, I'm free. Better come quick. Somebody else might come in. I said this before, Mancini or Conte, either one, massive upgrade over the guy who was in charge before. Personally, I would lean Mancini, but I'd be very happy with both. And if we screw up another World Cup, then we'll just pack it in, go play another sport. Dino Topmuller is set to take over at Lens. Jules, did our boy Joseph Julien choose the right guy to take over from Stone Wise?
Yeah, we see how that pans out. Really, I think it's a really smart choice. He was on their short list from the beginning with other names like Olivier Pantaloni, the pants man, one of your favorite French coaches. And I think at Lens they were very, very impressed with Topmuller, who speaks French, which I think helps. Really like the job that he did at Frankfurt, for example, like the mentality, like the philosophy. So there was a lot of things that they were really impressed with. And I'm happy to see just something a bit different. Pantaloni did well at Lorient. There was other French coaches that could have come to Lens and maybe would have done a good job, but we would have known them before. Topmuller is a bit of a question mark, and I like that, and we will discover what he's made of very quickly. West Ham majority shareholders David Sullivan has stepped down and will be forced to sell his shares, Gab. This is a really ugly story.
It's a horrendous story, and it's a story which, Like David Sullivan made his money in adult entertainment and over the years, and starting off in the 1970s and 1980s. So some people might suggest that it's kind of inevitable that stories like this might arise. 7 women have accused him of pressuring him into sex. There's another story about how, he had this thing with counting down the days until a model turned 16 so that she could be pictured topless in one of his newspapers. It's stuff that seems like from another era, frankly. What's really concerning to me is that the FA 3 years ago kind of secretly banned him from having unmonitored contact with women and people in the youth team at West Ham. Now, if you're in this situation because of these allegations, why are you doing this secretly? Shouldn't you tell us rather than making these weird safeguarding rules? Is this somebody you want to represent you? We'll see. The other shareholder, Daniel Kretensky, wants to supposedly buy shares. Somebody else might come in. But it's just such a horrendous story. After years as an assistant, Yaya Toure is getting a shot at first-team management, Jules. He's on his way to Slovan Bratislava.
Yeah, I mean, so it might sound a little bit strange to you, I guess, Slovan Bratislava, I mean, who are very strong in their own country, one of the best teams in there, where I think he probably, I hope for him certainly, will have the time to put in place his philosophy after some years as an assistant, where I think he learned a lot. But again, I think he felt ready to finally step up and go to first-team football. So we wish him good luck. We love Yaya Toure on this show, obviously. And I think this will ease him in the kind of the job really and that routine. So I think it's a good choice.
I'm so happy he's had an opportunity, because other players of his stature, they go out and they seem to get one straight away, and he's kind of really worked for it.
FIFA and FIFPro have signed an agreement, Gav. Tell us more.
So basically, FIFPro, of course, the umbrella organization that represents all the players' unions in the different countries. This is important to them. What they've agreed so far is a ban on players being forced to train alone, which we sometimes see, and also a mandatory rest period. What that rest period is still to be determined. In exchange, they're dropping their lawsuits against FIFA over kind of fixture congestion and so on. The reason this matters is that they are now kind of a recognized interlocutor to FIFA, which means we could have collective bargaining at some point. FIFA, you'll remember, they were kind of messing around with other unrecognized player unions and stuff like that. This is big for FIFPro, and I don't think, knowing some of the people involved, I don't think this means that they're going to come out and simply be doormats. But players need to be represented. Players need to have a voice in this, and I think this is a positive and it's a win. I think you get further with this than you do with lawsuits, frankly. Martin Demichelis only joined Mallorca in February, got relegated in May, signed a new deal, an extension for 3 years, or 2 years rather, a few days after that. And now Fabrizio Romano and others are telling us that he's being lined up to replace Ole Werner at Leipzig. Jules, does this strike you as weird? Does the guy have commitment issues?
I mean, this is football for you, Gab, isn't it? How many times have we seen some stuff like that? Maybe not to this extreme happened in the past. But yeah, it shows you how quickly things can go, really. You're right. In terms of your own ethics and committing yourself to a club, and then after that, because it's a bigger club, to just change like that and go for something else, I've got a few issues with that. I won't lie. I don't want to say that karma at some point might get to Demichelis like he got to Rob Edwards, for example, at Wolves. But to a certain extent, I think this kind of stuff could have been done very, very differently.